What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla anime discussion. Now, although I have found it fairly entertaining to just kind of sit back and watch everything happen around me, I didn't really want to comment on it, but, I've gotten enough comments and requests to the point where, yeah, it's time to make a video on it. So this is what a lot of people are viewing as the downfall of the Godzilla anime. I'm viewing it as more of just kind of a road bump, right? I'm more optimistic than that. There's these are some controversies with the Godzilla anime. Before we jump into that, really quick, I want to give a shout out to one of my subscribers whose name is, we're just gonna read the Japanese and English translation of his name because I'm sick of reading out the real long list of unassociated letters that his English Twitter handle is. His name is Premature Illness Rider X Kai. Now this guy makes custom figures, and I want to clear something up because I got some comments on it last video, and then he tweeted me about it because, so there's I think there's a language barrier between us, but or maybe I'm just stupid and I misunderstood. I thought he was telling me that the Ghidorah, the golden Ghidorah figure that I showed off in the last news update was one that was just a secondary movie monster series release of the figure. He actually told me that it was a custom paint that he made along with the golden Godzilla. That being said, that doesn't really change much of what we talked about in the last video because the Ghidorah thing, all that's different is now the secondary version of the figure that I showed off was just a custom paint, and the golden Godzilla, although it may not be an official Bandai release, there are still other official releases of golden Godzilla, so it doesn't really matter that the Bandai release isn't official because everything else leads to the potential for a golden Godzilla to have appeared in the movie in what was the original script. We don't know if that's the case, like I said in the last video, but it does seem that the evidence is there to suggest that golden Godzilla was going to be Godzilla's ultimate form at the end of this movie, Godzilla the Planet Eater, but that did not happen. Anyways, jumping into the discussion here, right? The people versus the Godzilla anime. So this all started on October 30th when there was an interview with one of the Godzilla anime directors. And this guy is Hiroyuki Sekashi, I'm gonna call him Sekashi, where he stated that he welcomes getting bashed by traditionalists. This upset a lot of people, and we'll discuss it. If you read the full article, which I have linked down below, it's an interview with somewhere like Hollywood Reporter or something official. It is an official interview. If you read the full thing, he breaks down a couple points. The first one being that he welcomes getting bashed by traditionalists. The actual quote is, "We welcome getting bashed by traditionalists," Hiroyuki Sekashi, one of the directors, told the Associate Press last week. "That proves more than anything we succeeded in creating something different." He then continues his interview stating that he wanted to create a more human-driven story rather than monster-focused story. And then he also says that the movies are too complex, which we'll discuss, and that might be why some people dislike them, before saying that, I'm not a Godzilla expert. That's basically what he says. He says, I'm not a Godzilla expert, but Easter eggs in the movies, such as Haruo's name being a reference to Haruo Nakajima, those were intentional. A lot of things were intentional, and they were intentionally put there by people like him and the other co-director as a way to pay tribute to the longtime viewers of Godzilla, rather than just bringing in a new audience, which is what he says they were trying to do by creating something so quote-unquote different. And then ultimately they end it by saying, after 64 years, you got to try something new, otherwise it's going to feel repetitive. So you go try something different. If you don't like it, that's a shame. There's probably something traditional that you can watch and enjoy along the way, which is true. If you don't like the Godzilla animes, and I've been saying this since my Monster Planet videos, if you don't like the Godzilla animes, don't watch them. It's just a trilogy. You're not missing out on much. You're just missing out on one singular trilogy. You might as well check them out at least once if you're a hardcore Godzilla fan, but if you already know you're not going to like them, don't obsess over them. There's no need to get super worked up about them. It's just one universe that is going to end real quickly here. I can understand if you're going to be upset about the world of Godzilla. If they kick off the world of Godzilla and that first movie is trash, I can understand being very upset about that because that's supposed to be the start of a cinematic universe. This is supposed to be a contained story. It was never supposed to go on for very long, so I don't understand why you would get so upset about it. And I can understand if you don't like the movies, sure. I can understand that, or if you're upset that they're not as good as they could have been, but I don't understand when you obsess about it and really rage about it. And that's the thing with Shin Godzilla too. When you obsess over how bad bad Shin Godzilla is and you just rage about it forever, I don't understand that, because just watch the Legendary movies then. Just watch something else. For me, to give a personal example here, I hate Godzilla Raids Again. I think it's very boring, but you don't see me harping on it video after video. Alright, so talking about traditionalists, this is the thing that really upset people. He says, we welcome getting bashed by traditionalists. First of all, that's not saying everybody. This is the biggest thing people have talked about. You know, I've seen so many people say, I don't like the Godzilla anime movies because I just think they're bad movies. It's not because I'm a traditionalist who's unwilling to accept change. And sure, fair enough. He wasn't talking to you. That's what I could say in response to that. When people say, I'm not a traditionalist, I don't like them because they're bad movies, how dare he include me in that category? How dare he say I'm a traditionalist just because I don't like his movies? I don't think that's what he's saying, because he brings up two groups of people in this interview. Two groups of people that he's okay getting bashed by. That's not to say that he's like, oh man, I can't believe that non-traditionalists also don't like my work. Maybe he is kind of arrogant. He's like, well, you know, you either like it or you don't. I don't really care. Maybe that's true. But I think there's a difference between him saying everyone who doesn't like my movie is a traditionalist and him saying those people who are traditionalists that dislike my movie, I'm totally fine with that. So that's where it comes in, right? And people are saying, oh, I'm upset because he's calling me a traditionalist. That means he's basically saying that anyone who doesn't like his movies are refusing to change or look at these movies with a modern lens. I don't think that's the case. I don't feel that that's the case. That's not how this interview comes across to me. This doesn't come across as him trying to bash the people that dislike his movies. This interview, if you read the whole thing, kind of comes off as him just being like, yeah, it's kind of happening and it's just happening. You know, it's not like him being like, well, you know, people are stupid and I hate them because they just can't accept change and that's why they don't view me as this god. It doesn't seem like that. The one thing that I will say is when he says some viewers may find these movies too complex and that's what leads to confusion and why they dislike it, which it is some viewers. He's not saying everybody. No, they don't. No one finds these movies too complex. There is a level of complexity to them that a lot of people overlook. I mean, I broke down a whole one of those in my Mechagodzilla City, the perfect antagonist video, why Mechagodzilla City was so great in City on the Edge of Battle. That's not to say that City on the Edge of Battle as a whole is the most complex Godzilla movie, or that if you don't view it with that lens of, all right, we're going to look at this as a character foil from a literary perspective, it's not to say that you can't enjoy the movie or that you will automatically dislike the movie. That's not what that means at all. That just means that some people who didn't look into it, read into it as much as I did, they may not have enjoyed the movie as much as I did, but that's also not saying that they're stupid because they didn't get it and that's why they didn't like it. They may not have liked it because it's kind of a slow-paced movie, right? Not kind of, it really is a slow-paced movie. If you're not down to sit through a slow-paced movie, you're not going to like that movie. And same thing goes with Monster Planet, or Planet of the Monsters. There's not much complexity there at all. It's more of man versus nature, and our director here, Sekashi, talks about how, you know, Godzilla's supposed to be this god creature, and that's our new angle with it. First of all, that's not a new angle at all. We've been doing that since the 1954 movie. Second of all, man versus nature, it's like one of the three forms of conflict, right? You got man versus man, man versus self, and man versus nature. Those are like the three main types. This isn't anything new either. Man versus technology, I really like that angle that they take with the anime. It's kind of your Black Mirror lens through a Godzilla movie, but ultimately still, it's not like if you didn't enjoy it for the literary perspective that I enjoyed it for, you can't enjoy the movie at all. And I'm not even saying that like, oh, I'm so much smarter than everyone else who watched the movie, because I might be wrong. I may just be reading into a bad movie, which I don't think I'm doing. I think it is intentional. I'm saying if you look at it from different lenses, you interpret it differently like I interpret it, and like other people have interpreted it differently. People have different interpretations than I do that I also think could be correct. You may enjoy it a little more than if you're just watching it to watch a Godzilla movie, right? And I don't really know how to word that, because I'm trying not to make it seem like I'm saying, oh, if you're not smart like I am, you're not going to enjoy it, because that's not the case at all. So I'm trying to word it correctly, whereas why I liked it doesn't mean that you can't like the movie if you don't liked it the way I liked it. That's probably the best, most neutral way I can say it, but you know what I mean. I think if you've listened to my whole struggle here, I think you'll be like, okay, I understand. All right, but then that article was all good, right? Everyone was upset about it, great. And then another article came out which blew up again. This one a little more so, I think. Now people are really not happy. This is supposedly an interview with all of our Godzilla directors and our writer. So you have Shizuno Sakita and Ubrachi, and this is all confusing. I don't know where this comes from. I don't know if this is 100% reliable. I don't think I've seen any major news outlets report on it like Gamora Island. This is something more that has been floating around the community. I'll read it to you guys. It says, Sashida says it was Toho that told them from the beginning that the project was not to be about kaiju fights. Ubrachi wrote his scripts on that basis. Shizuno had barely seen Godzilla movies to begin with and came up with quote-unquote interesting ideas, like, quote, does he really have to breathe fire, and quote, is it talking about Sashida or Shizuno? Because it says Sashida says that Toho told them not to make kaiju fights in the movies. Shizuno had barely seen Godzilla movies, but I don't know, because Sashida's also the one who's like, yeah, we welcome getting bashed by traditionalists, so I don't know why he'd then be like, no, it's Shizuno who's to blame because he's got interesting ideas. I don't know if that's him throwing shade or not, because I can't hear him say it, but I don't know. I really don't know. There's also grammatical errors here. The period's supposed to go inside the quote, but on this, it's definitely outside the quote. I don't know. I don't know if this was reliable. So take this article with a grain of salt. That's what I'm doing. It says, as a result, they did succeed in getting new fan bases, especially younger women, which I do think is true. I have seen a lot of that online. And then they continue by saying, Shizuno barely watched tokusatsu films, and so he didn't have any preconceptions on what Godzilla films, quote unquote, should be like. Sure, periods on the outside of the quote again shouldn't be. Shishida says that if it were just him and Ubrachi, Mechagodzilla City would have probably ended with the entire city combining and standing up to form a 1 kilometer tall Mechagodzilla. So that's like much larger than Godzilla Earth is. Ubrachi wanted to turn all the turrets into Mechagodzilla's head. Shizuno stopped that from happening. Shishida says that if it weren't for Shizuno, the X-Sips would have probably worn sunglasses like the Exaliens. Very interesting. It seems like this interview is Shishida basically being like, hey, listen, this isn't my fault that traditionalists are upset. It's all Shizuno. I don't know what the heck's going on here, because why would in one interview he'd be like, hell yeah, we're down to get criticized, and then immediately afterward be like, well, listen, I'm okay if the movies get criticized, just know whose fault it is and it's not my fault. Seems like, why would he embrace it in one and then turn around right afterward and be like, nah, just kidding. This also got a lot of people mad going, what the hell, Toho? Toho said from the beginning of the project that it was not to be about the kaiju fights. If you look through Toho's list of Godzilla movies, you will quickly realize that the vast majority of them are not kaiju fights. I don't know why people think, oh, Godzilla movies are action movies. If you look at the movies themselves, they have kaiju fights in them. Yes, they do. That's not the focal point of the movies. They're usually human stories. There are very few, like Godzilla Final Wars, that focus on the monsters in the majority and have Godzilla fights constantly throughout. A lot of them will have a minor scrimmage in the middle and then a big battle at the end. Meanwhile, the rest of the movie is all the human characters. That's just typically how they go. So it's not like this is anything new, that we're not having a lot of monster fights. This isn't even what I blame Toho for, and we'll talk about what I blame Toho for here in a second, but ultimately I don't think that's a problem inherently, and I don't think it is in the anime's context either. I think that it worked fine in the anime. Meanwhile, you have Shinzuno, who's barely seen tokusatsu films and has no idea what Godzilla is supposed to be like, and says, why does he have to breathe fire? Presumably referring to the force field that projects around Godzilla's body before firing out a laser from the front, which is why he fires it from his nose sometimes. It's still atomic breath, so I'm fine with that. I don't really care. And then saying that Shishida and Ubrachi, the writer, wanted the movie to end with Mechagodzilla City combining into Mechagodzilla and fighting Godzilla. That would have been awesome. And I've been saying from the start, that's how I would start off the Planet Eater, which it does not start like that, but that's how I would have started it. Saying that that would have happened, it kind of feels like potentially him looking at fan response and being like, oh yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, no, it wasn't my fault. I would have totally been down to do that, but we couldn't because this guy. Feels like it's just kind of passing the blame here. And then ending it with being like, yeah, the X-Sips would have worn sunglasses like the Exaliens. It feels like a cheap way to be like, hey, fans, look, I'm one of you fellas. I'm down to see some Invasion of Astro Monster references in my movies. I don't know. I don't like this article. I don't know if it's real. It really doesn't feel real to me because it feels too fake. But if it is true, I don't really care. I don't blame Shinzuno for following Toho's orders and being like, hey, listen, we were told to do one thing, let's not do it. And also, the sunglasses, they're kind of silly. Yeah, it would have been awesome to see Mephies wear one, but I understand why you wouldn't. If you want to go for a more religious angle with the character, you're going to make him look more religious like they made him look. You're not going to make him look like the Invasion of Astro Monsters guys. So I can appreciate from the level of trying to be consistent with the tone of the story, not having them dress silly. And then as for Toho, you know, this is what I blame Toho for. We know that the Godzilla anime was not supposed to be a trilogy. We know that they went into it with the intention of making it an animated series, and then Toho forced them into 3 movies, which is why a lot of people have been saying, yeah, pacing issues, you don't have things that are fully developed. Kaiju Noir, aka Andres Perez and I, have talked a bit about this, where it feels like they started a lot of ideas, such as, what if the entire environment, all the plants, adapted to be like Godzilla? Godzilla had something of a plant relation, but now plants have something of a Godzilla relation. That's the way they're going to go with the movie. And they did do that, sort of, in the first and second movie, but they don't fully develop it. Then you have, what if all the animals on the planet turned into Godzilla as well, like the Servum? Now, birds are like Godzilla, but they're Servum. Cool idea, again, but we don't fully develop it. What if Mechagodzilla was a city? Cool idea, but we don't fully develop it. It's like we don't get time to fully develop anything other than Haruo's story. And Mephi's, apparently, which is great, because I love Mephi's in the first 2. I blame Toho for taking away the option to make this a series that spanned many episodes and forcing them into this small time slot of 3 sets of an hour and a half. It's just not enough to tell the story they wanted to tell. Clearly, the story they wanted to tell was awesome, because we have the really cool prequel books that fully develop what was going to happen before, and it would have been awesome. I think it is disappointing that we are forced into these movies. That being said, I think the movies on their own are pretty good. Now, I know a lot of people don't agree with that. In fact, the first movie, Godzilla Monster Planet, only has a 48% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. The second movie, City on the Edge of Battle, isn't seen on Rotten Tomatoes. I ran an independent poll on my channel to see what people thought, and as of the time of recording, 69% of people said that they like the Godzilla anime, so it seems that the majority of my viewers are down for it, and I have seen that reflected in the comments of a lot of my videos. So I don't think it's totally a horrible thing that we got the movies the way we got them. I just think that if we're going to blame Toho for anything, we should probably blame them for cutting the budget and forcing them into this small 3-movie time slot where they can't tell the story that they clearly wanted to tell. Godzilla, this is the other thing, Scarlet Godzilla Earth was definitely intended to be one thing, and then they changed him into another in the next movie. So in Sitting on the Edge of Battle, he is Godzilla self-destructing and trying to keep himself together. In Godzilla the Planet Eater, they retcon that, and then they're like, hey, listen, well, now it's just a defense mechanism that Godzilla can switch on like that. And that's a minor spoiler for Godzilla the Planet Eater, but you've seen the pictures, so you already knew that, I'd assume. I mean, I'm out of spoilers for that movie. I don't know anything that happens in that movie outside of the trailers and the pictures, and I already knew that. But I also have a little edge because I talked to Andres Perez. That's my discussion on the Godzilla anime. It seems like there's a lot of blame shifting going on if that second article is real, which I don't think it is because it just doesn't seem legit. Meanwhile, you know, you got your first article, welcome getting bashed by traditionalists. I don't have a problem with that statement. I know a lot of people do. I just think some people are overreacting. I could have probably talked about this topic for like an hour, but I really don't want to spend that much time on it. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. D-Man, out.